Good evening, non existent viewers. I just got back from seeing The Invitation, the latest horror film from Sony Studios. It stars Natalie Emmanuel, and she plays this girl from New York, and she gets in touch. She takes a DNA test, and she gets in touch with one of her like second cousins from England, who invites her to a wedding, and she goes over to the wedding where she's treated as like the guest of honor. There's always like really rich white people there, and it's like very fancy, very bougie. And next thing you know, a lot of creepy stuff happens because there's like this mansion that they're staying in has like a dark history, and next thing you know, a lot of like spooky, like supposedly scary stuff goes down from there. I walked into The Invitation not really knowing what to expect. I did see the trailer for it like a month ago, and I was like, okay, Natalie Emmanuel is in a horror movie. It's supposed to be like there's a lot of horror movies coming out, so like big budget Hollywood, like like horror films coming out this year. And I've kind of made it like my initiative to watch as many horror films and as many animated films as much as I could this year, because we're just like the studios are just churning out those two kind of movies a lot this year, more than they usually do. If I don't know if I'm the only one who's noticed that. I think it's been that way. Maybe I'm wrong, but I went to this film, and I gotta say, like this it's like I said, 2022 overall has been a pretty solid year for like the horror genre, but this is not one of those movies. The Invitation, guys. I will give the film credit where credit is due, though. Natalie Emmanuel, I liked her in the Fast and Furious movies. Like, she's great in those, and she does her best with what she's given the script, and like with the character that she plays. Like, I do feel like the film does succeed, like making me empathize with her at the start of the film, because her mother passed away a few months before like the events of the film starts, and her father passed away when she was like younger, and like so this is like she meets this British guy who's her second cousin, so it's like, hey, she finally has family over in England, so like yeah, I get where she's coming from, and the lead, like the actress, really does her best with what she's given, because this film, guys, oh man, this film is an hour and 45 minutes long. It felt longer than that. Like, slow burner is a word that I use a lot when I describe movies in my movie reviews. Please understand, slow burner is not synonymous with boring. Like, having a slower pace does not make it like less interesting. It's like not all slow burner films are boring films, but in this film's case, all boring films are slow burner films. And The Invitation is one of those movies, guys. It tries to be scary, it tries to be creepy, but the entire time I just sat there in my seat and I was like, when's it gonna get scary? When's it gonna be creepy? When's it gonna like be suspenseful, tense? It tries to be scary. When it tries to be scary, it was boring. When it tries to be like, creepy, it was boring. When it tries to be tense, when there's scenes where like there's girls going to the basement or the spooky library or the catacombs or the crypts, and it tries like to be scary, it was boring and it was cliche. Like, the cliche in horror movies when there's like a fake scare, when like, oh, you think that the demon or the slash or whatever is like attacking her, when it turns out it's just like her friend tapping her on her shoulder. It's like, whoa, hey man, you scared me. Yeah, they pull that cliche three times in this film, and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. When it tries to be romantic, because of course, Natalie Emmanuel's character falls in love with this really rich, handsome Walter guy. When it tries to be romantic, when it tries to be steamy, when it tries to be sexy, it was boring. When it tries to be bloody and gross, or like try to, gross you out, again, it was boring. This movie's PG-13. Like, it's revealed like in the third act that like this rich family has taken her in. They're Strigoi, these like vampires from like Romanian folklore, and like it tries to be like gory and stuff like that, but again, the gore is kept to a bare minimum because of the PG-13 rating. Personally, I don't like it when horror movies are like excessively reliant on gore. I don't really care for gore nose. I don't find those movies very scary. I just find them like, just more gross and disturbing than anything else. But this film really could have benefited from an R rating, and I do feel like the trailers gave way too much away, because like I saw a lot of like the more creepy moments, or like the where it tries to be creepy, just coming from like a mile away, and it just didn't hit me like at all on a scare level. And this film's writing is all over the place. Characters go back and forth between like, oh, being like, kind and sweet and like cheerful, just being like sassy and rude and sarcastic, like lickety split. And there's like things that happen that kind of just happen for the sake of the plot. Like good writing in movies, like a good writer thinks like this character does X because Y and leads to Z. While in bad movies like this, it kind of just like stuff just happens because the plot is demanding it. Like, oh, at the start of the film, she really needs to be convinced to go to England with her like excuse me, second cousin. And like she just commits like lickety split. I'm just like, wait a minute, took her that easily for her to change her mind. That doesn't make any sense. Just a lot of stuff in this movie makes no sense, especially in the third act when like stuff is just hitting you at once. And it has some like I wasn't expecting like anything like Avatar, Jurassic Park, or Lord of the Rings level, but it has some of the worst CGI special effects I have seen in a very long time. Like seriously, like there's no excuse for bad special effects nowadays. Again, just way too much is happening at once. This film tries to be too many things, and it's very derivative. Its plot is like just the plot is just very jumbly and messy, and it's just like nothing I've seen before, and it really like upsets me that like vampires and werewolves just aren't scary anymore, because there was a time when vampires and werewolves, like supernatural creatures, just dominated the horror like genre, and now thanks to movies like Twilight and this, they've just become a total joke. And yeah, like I gotta say, The Invitation is probably one of the most like uninteresting like horror films I've seen in a while, guys. It's not as bad as Firestarter that came out earlier this year. I will give it that, but still, it could have been a lot better than it was. I'm going for a 3 out of 10 stars. It's a likable. It's an unlikable film. But of course, I'm not the end all be all with The Invitation. When I saw this movie tonight, like the theater was not packed in a slice. It was me and I want to say like 5 to 6 other people. And like as I was leaving the theater, I asked them, I was like, yo, that movie was really stupid right there. I was like, yep, it was. So if you have seen The Invitation, what did you think about it? Do you disagree with me? Did you like this movie? Or do you agree with me and disliked it? Or just thought it was okay or whatever else? Like let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, hit the thumbs up like button on this movie review, please. And subscribe to my channel. You guys have a nice night. Stay beastly.